What's up guys, it's Lord of the Cubes, and this is the first puzzle that was ever in my collection. Today I'm going to give you all a grand tour of my entire collection. I've got over 200 puzzles and I've collected them for more than 8 years. I have no idea how long this video will be, but I've set aside pretty much an entire day to record it. Before we get the ball rolling, I'd like to say a few things. I'm not just a 3x3 addict like a lot of cubers are. I'm not just going to show you 50 identical 3x3s and like 5 2x2s and maybe like one mirror gear cube and then call it quits. So if that's what you're looking for, I will be showing my speed cubes at the end of the video, but I've only got like 5, so don't hold your breath. Most of the puzzles in my collection are actually the only ones of their kind in my collection. Otherwise it just gets really repetitive really fast. Another thing I'd like to mention is that almost every puzzle in my collection has been solved by me at least once, most of them multiple times, but some of them are a kick in the pants to solve. But I do like to make sure I've solved every puzzle in my collection. There are only a couple exceptions to this, which I will mention in the video. With that said, I'm going to start off by showing you all how I store all my puzzles. From what I've seen, most people tend to store their cubes in like display shelves or glass cases. I don't really have that. I use these like drawers under my bed to store my cubes, as well as a couple display shelves and a case that I keep all of my speed cubes in. My dad made the wooden dividers in the drawers, and you'll notice there are quite a few gaps in them, as well as empty spaces on the shelves. And that's to make room for new puzzles that I don't have yet, but would like to very soon. Otherwise, I would just run out of space super fast. In fact, I might even need to expand to the 4th drawer under my bed. Now that I've showed you that, let's hop right into the video. It all started with this Rubik's brand 2x2 that I got for Christmas one year. It's the first puzzle I solved, first puzzle I ever owned, and it's the only one that has been in my collection for 8 years. Of course, after that, I moved on to this Rubik's brand 3x3, which is somehow the worst turning 3x3 in my entire collection. But it was my first 3x3, so I still have it around. This 4x4 was actually the 4th puzzle in my collection. It's a Rubik's brand, I don't recommend it. Fun story about this 4x4. When I first got it, it was like almost impossible to turn, so I, loosened the screws just a tiny bit, and it promptly exploded all over the living room. Don't buy a Rubik's brand 4x4. I guess I finally learned my lesson to stop buying from Rubik's brand, because I don't know what brand this 5x5 is from, but I brought this after the 4x4, and it's not that bad. This, I believe, is a Shengshao 6x6. I really like that it's fully proportional, unlike most 6x6s today. Turns pretty nicely, considering it's not a speed cube by any means. And yeah, glad to have it in the collection. And this 7x7 is also a Shengshao. It actually turns considerably better than this. In fact, I think this might be the best turning puzzle currently on this table, which is a little sad. After conquering the 7x7, I took a step back and stopped collecting big cubes for a bit, until years later, when I would buy an 8x8 solely to make pixel art with it. And that's actually the highest order big cube I currently have in my collection. Let me know if it's weird that I don't have a 9x9, because it feels like everyone has a 9x9 these days. I've also got some fun variations on the N×N cubes, such as this crazy 3x3, which looks like it turns normal until you actually see that when the rest of the face turns, the circles don't. Very cursed. And this is a crazy 4x4. Now what's funny about this is 1, that the middle layers turn way better than the outer layers again, and 2, that this is actually a real 4x4. If you don't know what that is, feel free to watch my video on it in the info card. This is a Time Machine 2x2. Unfortunately, despite being named a Time Machine cube, it still can't take me back to when ghost Pyraminxes were being mass-produced. And this cube wants to eat your soul! This is a mix-up cube, which means that it can do crazy things like this. This gear cube technically does count as a 3x3, it's just got these gears on the outside that force it to only turn like this, with the edges rotating in crazy ways. And this is the gear shift. You actually have to pull it apart to be able to rotate only one phase of pieces, because if you don't pull it out, the whole cube rotates at once and actually looks really cool. This is the corner helicopter 2x2, named because it has corner turns, helicopter turns, and 2x2 turns. And this is a Land Void cube. I used to have a Rubik's one, and I switched to this one because it looks a lot nicer, even though the turning really is not much better. This is Siamese cubes, just 2 3x3 stuck together, and you can do this. It's pretty fun. This puzzle is a total pain to solve. There's allegedly a way to get these tiles off, but I haven't found a way to do so. Anyway, this is the bandaged cube. Never scrambling it again. There are very few puzzles that I genuinely hate solving. But this is the O2 cube. This cube is technically trivial, but I felt like I should include it, and I also really like spinning it. Now I've got a question for you all. What do all of these puzzles have in common? You guessed it, they're all on this table! They're all shape mods of a 3x3. The shape mod section of this video is going to be extremely long, so Let's just get it the heck over with, shall we? This is a 3x3 mirror cube. I used to have a golden one, but now I don't. Made it into another puzzle. This is, I think, a Chi 2x2 mirror cube, and it is mirrored the same amount in all three directions. Don't buy this puzzle. This is the Shangshao 4x4 mirror cube, which I actually do recommend buying. It's actually quite smooth. I don't have a 5x5 mirror cube yet, but I do have this Rubik's color block, which is just a mirror cube, but with stickers, which defeats the purpose of a mirror cube that you solve it by its shape. So I took matters into my own hands. I made my own horror mirror 3x3. I think you can buy one of these, but I didn't feel like it, because I wanted to make my own, and I wanted to give it the wrong color scheme, so it would be even more cursed than it already is. I have two Pyraminxes, one from I don't know what brand, and one from Rhombic brand, which I didn't know they made until I saw it in a store and was like, I need this. Chi Mastermorphix, Shangshao Megamorphix, which turns surprisingly smoothly, and Shangshao Gigamorphix, which turns surprisingly less smoothly, and it's also very, very pillowed. This series of puzzles inspired me to design this 4x4 shape mod right here. It is called the Triacus Megamorphix, and it has no less than 12 sides. Next up, I've got some classic 3x3 shape mods, the Fisher Cube, the Windmill Cube, and the Axis Cube. I've also got this, which is just like a normal cube, but with a twist. Get it? Twist, because it's a twist. I'm not funny. I've also got this Meffert's Ghost Cube from back in the day. This is by far the hardest shape mod in my collection. I've also got this 2x2 Ghost Cube, which is really tricky because sometimes pieces look like they're meant to be next to each other, like this, but they actually aren't. This cannot be solved with these pieces here. They have to be over here. So this is one of the first shape mods in my collection. Just some like cheap dollar store barrel cube from way back. I like how it's stickered like a sandwich cube. And also, these pieces here kind of look like watermelons, don't you think? There's that, and then there's this octagonal barrel from Maru. It's got 4 extra colors along the sides, which I much prefer over the standard barrel color scheme where they just like add like blue, blue, red, red, green, green. I don't like it. I designed this myself from a GAN 330 because my other one was poorly made by me. And this is the 4x4 counterpart that I only got because I didn't have the tools to build a 3x3 one yet. But I liked it enough that I kept it around because it's cool how you can rearrange the actual color schemes, like rotate this sort of thing. Then there's this 2x2 dodecahedron, which is pretty much identical to a 2x2 solve, but I still think it's a pretty fun puzzle. And this is my 3x3 dodecahedron that I printed because the other one sucked. It was designed by Cubes, if I recall. This is the only puzzle in my collection that I got to use my own custom dodecahedron scheme on. I can't just do it with self-sticker puzzles because it uses maroon instead of cream. And to finish out every platonic solid as a 3x3, here's a 3x3 icosahedron that I also designed from a GAN 330. It's pretty small. You can actually download the files for these two puzzles on Thingiverse if you want. Links will be in the description. This is a Penrose cube. I really like this pattern on it. And this is a cube. Psych, it's a rhombic dodecahedron 3x3 that I restickered to have 12 colors. And here's the dual of that, the 3x3 cube octahedron. This is designed by Jacob Cubing and of course printed and put together by me over several hours because he uses tiles for all his puzzles. I've also got this hexagonal dipyramid 3x3, which I'm probably going to be replacing soon because I don't like that this one only has 6 colors, but otherwise it's pretty fun. And this very large shield cube, hexagonal prism 3x3, that I put into this checkerboard pattern. This is just a 3x3 force cube that I stickered up. Just kidding, it's actually a limited edition purple blanker cube that I really like. In fact, I liked it so much that I went and designed the master version of it, which I put into this pattern for displaying because I like it. I also have this pear cube, which is deceptively easy and very fun to spin. Oh! This Mala cube is different from pretty much any other puzzle in my collection. It's kind of like the opposite of a Rubik's Cube. This is the Rubik's Impossible. At any point, the puzzle has 2 different states because if you look at it differently, it'll change colors. And now we're gonna get into just some special 3x3s I have lying around. I thought it'd be nice to start off with another cube that changes colors. This Rubik's Phantom, which if you didn't know what this is, it's activated by the warmth of your hands. If I just pop this into a microwave, it'll look like a normal 3x3 again. You can see that this, I believe, is the orange side. I've also got Oscar's treasure chest here, as well as a 50th anniversary 3x3 with its gold side. Very nice. Still turns better than that first Rubik's brand 3x3 I got, surprisingly. And this is the Geeker Smart Cube. I got this a long time ago. Haven't used the Smart Cube functions in a while either, but it actually turns very nicely. I actually really like this cube. This is just a normal 3x3, but with all the corners cut off, so it's the shape of a truncated cube. It is exactly the same as solving a normal 3x3. And this deformed centrosphere 3x3 was designed solely so that middle turns would be a total pain and that would get misaligned all the time. I've also got a couple of 2x2s, like this 2x2 super cube right here. Once again, completely useless because it's the exact same as solving a normal 2x2. I don't have any other super cubes, which is the funny part. I'm probably going to get a 3x3 super cube at some point though. I've also got this carbon fiber 2x2, which came free with an order. I also used to have this clover 3x3, which came free with an order, but I don't anymore because it was the same as a 3x3, so I traded it at a competition. I do have this 3x3 that glows in the dark. Now let me specify, the body of the cube glows in the dark, not the stickers. I have tried solving it in the dark. It's not fun. It was going to be a whole video. It was awful. You couldn't see anything. This is a 3x3, but something's not quite right. You see, this 3x3 is squishy. It's squishy. It's a squishy 3x3. Gotta put my safety gloves on for this next one because the next thing I am gonna be showing you is this, which is a gift from my brother. It was either a gag gift or an attempt to assassinate me. I honestly can't tell. Let's follow up the pin cube with the second worst puzzle to step on, which is this, a Lego cube. Yes, this does have actual Legos on it, but unfortunately no, it cannot bandage together like Z3's Lego mods. I've also got this 3x3 that my dad put inside a ball of epoxy. It looks really cool. I'm not going to count it as a puzzle because it's not one, but it is really, really cool. I like how the faces always seem to extend outwards to fill that circular shape of it. I've also got some picture cubes, like this Nintendo Switch cube. Now, picture cubes tend to really suck, and this one in particular feels like what I would imagine nails on chalkboard to be like. Oh my god, okay. You know, I didn't think I had, like, sensory issues until I came across this cube. Most picture cubes are like that. I don't like it. I did get this cube from Code Ninjas a while ago, and it actually feels normal, thank god, as well as this music cube that my uncle gave me. I also have various tiny picture cubes on keychains. Most of these are from places that I've been, and I got them as souvenirs. I've also got this 20 centimeter 3x3, boasting to be the smallest Rubik's Cube in the world. It's not even close, and in fact it probably wasn't even close when this cube was still made. I also have some GAN 3030s that came with this keychain that I didn't attach, but this is the best 30mm cube that you will ever find. And in fact, I have a lot of tiny Rubik's Cubes because of this. I got this 6x6 GAN mosaic for Christmas, so I've got 36 tiny cubes, and it's even got this thing to help you pull them out. And this is what I made with it. I changed the corner in the logo because I didn't like the blue with the blue outline. And on the opposite end of the scale, here's the biggest cube I own. Here's my hand for context. It's actually a little bit wider than my hand. It's very, very large. Another impulsive purchase, if I recall. This is the biggest cube in my collection by quite a bit. Now that we finally got all those cubes done with, here is a Shengshao Kilominx, here is a Shengshao Master Kilominx, and here is a Shengshao Gigaminx. I've also got this Chuyi Kilominx, which actually has colors on the centers. Now, I no longer have my Shengshao Megaminx, which was my first Megaminx, because I modded it into this Megaminx, which has more sides. And then I bought another one, and then I modded it into a Megaminx with even more sides. And then I bought another one and used the core and screws for, you guessed it, a Megaminx I designed with twice as many sides. You may be noticing a trend here. As I said earlier, I actually designed this puzzle. It is called the Tetrachus Hexaminx. So this is what a normal Hexaminx looks like. Right now I have it in this pattern, which is scrambled, but the shape is solved. And of course, a Megaminx with only 4 sides. This tetrahedral Megaminx was designed by Ake. It's the only known purple tetrahedral Megaminx in the world, and I really wish it was called a Tetraminx. I also had an Alexander Star at one point, which is basically an edges-only Megaminx, but it was 42 years old and like refused to turn, and when it did, it felt awful, so I just ended up selling it. And this is a Pyraminx crystal, named because it's nothing like a Pyraminx and nothing like a crystal. It's actually just a Megaminx, but with deeper cuts, forming these edges here that behave differently from those of a normal Megaminx. The next deeper cut dodecahedron I have is this Starminx right here, which is so new to my collection that I haven't actually finished solving it yet, but by the time this video comes out, I definitely will have. It actually turns pretty nicely. This is the MF8 Void Pentultimate, and unlike that puzzle, it's really crappy. This is actually the deepest possible cut dodecahedron, and it's so freaking awful. It's a tiny bit misaligned. It's all going to crap. Extremely catchy, refuses to turn sometimes, and the pieces can just like pop out, I guess. Like, I've had pieces fall out in the middle of the solve before. I'm very eager to replace this with a better Pentultimate at some point. Now let's move on to Pyraminxes. This Pyraminx was the third puzzle in my collection, and a ball bearing is missing from one of the tips, so it's seen better days, but it brings back memories for me. Believe it or not, it's actually not that bad. This is a Shengshao Master Pyraminx. This puzzle takes me back. This isn't actually my first Master Pyraminx either. I had another one of these Shengshao ones that I modded into a flat-faced Jing's Pyraminx, and then it broke, so I don't have it anymore. This is the Yushin 5x5 Pyraminx, which is actually pretty good, except for this one corner, which is really stiff for some reason, but it's only this one corner at this one specific cut depth. The other turns are fine, even the tip, and then this same cut depth at all the other corners are fine, so I guess that just goes to show that Yushin's quality control is garbage. And the biggest Pyraminx in my collection, and probably ever will have in my collection, frankly, is this Calvin's Puzzle Teamer Royal Pyraminx. Some of the stickers fell off in the box when I opened it, and I had to super glue some of them back on, which you can see I did not do a particularly great job of doing. It's very unstable, still solved it. And of course, I made this 2x2 Pyraminx, 3D printed it from some files on Thingiverse so that I could have a complete collection of Pyraminxes. I also got bored and fused these two Pyraminxes together, so now they're fused Pyraminxes. You could even call it a Pyraminx duo, except you can't, because this puzzle's already called the Pyraminx Duo. Another very easy tetrahedral puzzle I have is this right here, the Core and Twist Pyraminx. I don't like the pale colors, but it's a fun trivial puzzle to give to non-cubers and watch them try to solve. After that, I've got the Shengshao Jinx Pyraminx. Some people say Magic Tower, I don't know why, because I wanted a true face-turning tetrahedron in my collection. I followed that up by getting the full Shengshao line of Jinx Pyraminxes, so we've got the 4x4 version right here, 5x5, very fun. The 6x6 one right here, and finally the 7x7 Jinx Pyraminx. But I wasn't going to stop there either, so I went ahead and bought some more variations of the Jinx Pyraminx. We've got this crazy one right here, it's the V2, so it has the corners that don't actually do anything. This Void Pyraminx, which is actually slightly concave for some reason. Still doesn't turn that well, and it solves just like a Pyraminx without the tips, but honestly, I think Pyraminx shouldn't have tips to begin with. Let me know in the comments if you agree. And finally, I've got this Mirror Pyraminx. That is a mouthful. I've also got this tiny little keychain Jing's Pyraminx right here, also made by Shengshao. Next up, we got some corner turning cubes. This is a Chi Dino cube. We've got the Moyu Ready cube, stickerless. Of course, the Lan Mosaic cube, because I just needed the 4x4 version as well. And of course, I bought this Curvy Dino cube, because they didn't just make a Compi cube with straight cuts. No, they had to make it wavy, so now I have this in my collection as a Compi cube. Here's a Rainbow cube, which is a former WCA event, and here is a coin tetrahedron, which is a lot of fun. And both of these puzzles are actually just shape mods of a Ready cube. I've also got this ancient coin cube, which I guess would be a shape mod of a Ready Rhombic Dodecahedron. And this is a Ready regular Dodecahedron, the Megaminxes. It's probably the only purple stickered Megaminx in the world. Let me know if I'm wrong about that, but I think this is the only one, because purple's just the best color, what can I say? And of course, I couldn't just settle for a 3x3 Megaminx either. I had to get this beast of a puzzle, AJ's 4x4 Curvy Dino-Minx, which, as you can see, I had to use an irregular color scheme for because it came with some irregular colors. Here's a Skewb. I don't know what brand it is, but this is one of the first puzzles I actually figured out how to solve all by myself with zero help. And this is the Master Skewb. This is a very underrated puzzle, and basically, if the Skewb is a 2x2, the Master Skewb is a 3x3. And of course, if you're going to have the 2x2 and the 3x3 Skewbs, why not get the 4x4 Skewb? This is the MF8 Elite Skewb. Unfortunately, nobody has made a Royal Skewb yet, so I can't get the 5x5 one yet. I can, however, get this Dino Skewb, which is stickerless, so the insides have weird colors and I don't like it. I'm hoping to replace this with a stickered version of it soon. This is Greg's Multi-Skewb, and it's a Master Skewb, but you can see inside it. So you can see the Ready edges, which are the same as these edges. You can see the Ready Cube's corners as well, and these centers that don't actually move at all. One of the most interesting puzzles in my collection, in my opinion, is the Polaris Cube. And this was a really fun challenge. This is the Super Z, which is a cross between a 2x2 and a Skewb. It can make both turns interchangeably. It's very interesting. And of course, the craziest hybrid puzzle in my collection, the Twin Skewb. It has Skewb turns, it has Curvy Copter turns, and it has 2x2 looking turns that actually move along the Skewb turns like this. Very, very scary. This is the only other puzzle I haven't solved yet, but I'm going to. I have quite a few Skewb shape mods as well, so let's go through those. We've got the Skewb Ultimate right here, as well as this Hollow Skewb Ultimate that I actually like a lot better than the non-hollow one. It's probably the best impulse purchase I've ever made. We've also got this, which was appropriately named the Skewb Extreme, and the Skewb Kite, which is a Rhombic Dodecahedron. Now, I don't remember whether this is Mefferts or Landlands. I could swear it was Landlands, but it's got that Mefferts sticker on it. Either way, very loud, very clicky, turns like crap, probably gonna replace it soon. I've also got this Mefferts Hollow Skewb with the nice purple side instead of orange, and the Xena Keychain Skewb, which is most definitely going to be built into another puzzle very soon. I've also got this Ivy Cube right here. Not going to be buying a Speed Ivy Cube, another fun puzzle to give to non-cubers and see if they can solve. As well as the YJ Yeet Ball, which I only bought because it was called the Yeet Ball. I don't know what kind of marketing strategy that was, but it worked on me, I'll say that much. Next up, I've got the Landland Rex Cube and the Chi-Yi Super Ivy Cube. For anybody wondering, the Chi-Yi Super Ivy Cube is way better. They're essentially the same puzzle though, and they're both shape mods of an FTO. And speaking of FTO, here it is now. This is my crappy, very crappy Landland FTO, as well as this, which is a Skewb Diamond, also known as a 2x2 FTO. This was designed by Crystal. It's a Xena Skewb extension mod. This is an FTO with unmovable centers. It's the Diane MF8 Crazy Octahedron Standard. And this FTO has movable centers. This is the Master Skewb Diamond designed by Multicubing. And on this table is every possible cut depth of an FTO. You could also have more than one cut depth, like this right here, which is a Master FTO. Doesn't turn that well, but it's usable. I've also got the CTO, which is the Diane one. I re-stickered it with FTO stickers, and it's looking a lot better now in my opinion. As well as this, which is the Mefferts Pyraminx Diamond, if I think that's the right name at least. Basically a Pyraminx duo, but it's an octahedron. And this edge-turning octahedron right here. Alright, it's cuboid time. Let's start off with this 1x1x2 I 3D printed because I got bored. Now, I know that somewhere in this room there is a keychain 1x1x3 that I got for free with an order. I cannot for the life of me find it. However, there is another one on screen and is this thing. This counts as a 1x1x3 because it can't make any vertical turns. It's actually a pen holder right now. It's got a couple bracelets and my Lego guy in there. But yeah, very funny looking puzzle, but it is in fact a 1x1x3 technically. I've also got this 1x2x2 right here. Basically trivial. There's only 6 states, and here they all are right now. That's every state the puzzle can be in. And this 1x2x3, which is another puzzle I like to give to non-cubers from time to time. I also have this Christmas tree 1x2x3, which is currently hanging on my actual Christmas tree. I've also got this 1x2x3, but it shapeshifts. This was the first ever puzzle that I built. My dad and I made it from a floppy cube. As you can see, the craftsmanship is not great on this, but it's functional, it does the job, it's pretty fun. Checkerboard looks like a Y. And I've got this 1x2x5, which is 100% 3D printed, except the googly eyes. One of my friends thought it should have googly eyes, so it's a caterpillar now. And of course the classic super floppy right here. It can shapeshift, it's a lot of fun. I don't know what happened to this sticker, honestly. This was the first cuboid in my collection, by the way. Then we've got this 2x2x3 right here, and a Rubik's brand 2x2x4. How did Rubik's brand manage to get their own color scheme wrong? I've also got this 2x2x3 in the shape of a banana for some reason. Here's a Chi-Yi 3x3x2 that has this special move right here where it can do this. I wonder if that was intentional. I've also got a 3x3x4, which I wish didn't have a pink side. Other than that, it's pretty cool. Calvin's 3x3x5, full of shape-shifting fun. A cubic 3x3x9. And of course Calvin's 4x4x6 from Tom Z. Love this puzzle. And the most recent additions to the cuboid collection were this, the 2x3x4 from MF8, and the 3x4x5, also from MF8. I would say the 345 was definitely the most challenging cuboid to figure out. I actually modified it because the shapeshifting was not fully functional when it came. You might be able to see the 3D printed parts in there, probably not. And this is probably the most puzzles I've had on this table in years. I've also got some puzzles that are sort of like cuboids, but they're not quite cuboids. I guess you could call them cuboidoids, I don't know. Anyway, this is the X cube. It's like two 3x3x5s fused over each other. It shapeshifts a lot, and the center orientation is part of the solve, and I won't hear a word against it. This is the cross cube. It's three 3x3x5s crossed over each other, so it basically ends up acting like only the centers of a 5x5. Doesn't shapeshift like the X cube does, but it's still fun. And this is the Moyan. Now when I got this, I thought that it was a corner-turning rhombic dodecahedron around all corners. I thought you could do like ivy sort of turns here. I basically thought it was like a sort of Rex rhombic dodecahedron with hidden parts, and now I want to make an actual Rex rhombic dodecahedron. I was right about these turns, but you can also do this for some reason. Anyway, this is a cross-cube shape mod without the centers visible. But that's all my cuboids. Now it's time for the Square One series, starting with the Square One. Still haven't learned how to solve it. I'm going to do so hopefully sometime in 2025. Here's the Shengshao Square 0, which is magnetic. The Shengshao Square 2, which is also magnetic. And this is the first puzzle I ever designed, which is the only reason why I still have it around. This is V1 for my Square 3 design. It squeaks. It rattles. I don't like it. So I made a better one. This is the Square 3 version 2. It's in the checkerboard right now. But I'm actually really happy with how this came out, like this. This is still my best turning original design that I made the mechanism for. I've also got this puzzle here, which is called Wild Windmills. It was designed by Twisty Turtle for Puzzle Advent Calendar 2024. I don't remember how I got it into this pattern, so it's now going to stay in this pattern for the rest of time. But it's basically a Square One crossed with a slice windmill cube. If you want to see how that solves, check out the video. This cube right here has 2x2 turns and Skewb turns. Just kidding, this is actually a helicopter cube. It's completely different. Turns by the edges, jumbles, all that jazz. And this is a curvy-copter, same as the helicopter, but now the edges are visible. And this right here is a helicopter dodecahedron, and it has 30 axes of rotation. This is a Rua, which is a 2x2 face-turning rhombic dodecahedron. This puzzle can also jumble, and it actually has the same axis system as an edge-turning cube. And here's the 3x3 counterpart of the Rua, which is called the Dodorhombus. This is actually the Dodorhombus Plus because it has these extra cuts that can be accessed via jumbling. So the way to split these two edge pieces apart would be something like this. There we go. And finally, this is the Diane Gem 7. It's actually a truncated rhombic dodecahedron, so the hexagons can jumble like this. The squares can't get involved with that, but they can also turn. So it solves very similarly to a curvy copter, just with baby faces on these sides. This is the only Diane gem in my collection, and also the only one I plan on adding to the collection. Next up, we've got some prisms. This is the Grimace, which was designed by Jacob Cubing. It is basically a 2x2 pentahedron. And this is the Shengshao 2 layered pentahedron, which is kind of like a domino pentahedron. It's a deep cut puzzle, that's why I have it. This is the Shengshao 3 layer pentahedron, which as you can see doesn't have these centers up here. And this is the Diane MF8 3 layer pentahedron, which does have those centers. And last but not least, we've got the whopping 5x5 5 layer pentahedron. Very fun challenge, it even has its own parodies. I've also got this 1 layer cheese, which was 3D printed. And I also made this sticker mod called the Fisher 1 layer cheese, where basically the order of these pieces matters and it's not just solving the white side. Here's the 2 layer cheese, which actually behaves the same way as the 2 layer pentahedron. It just also allows for 60-degree turns on the top and bottom faces. And the Rubik's UFO, which is a shape mod of a 2 layer cheese. In fact, I think I'm going to be making my own shape mod of a 2 layer cheese at some point. This is the Ghost Floppy Cube. It's not actually a ghost cube or a floppy cube. It's actually more like a mirror, square, prism-shaped floppy Megaminx. Here's a regular old floppy Megaminx. It actually turns pretty well. Putting it together was a nightmare because printing the core was annoying, but it turned pretty well once I got it working. And here's a full-on pentagonal prism designed by Jacob Cubing. Very fun. I've also got this floppy hexagonal prism with a fidget spinner attached to it. I believe this is called the Diane Cheng 6-axis spinner. And this is the Hanoi-Minx. It is a face-turning truncated tetrahedron. Now it only has 4 colors for 8 sides, but since these faces can never actually touch each other, it actually still works out. It's a lot of fun to solve, just like the truncated octahedron version, the Tetradecaminx, designed by Jacob Cubing. Now this is very fun to solve, however I did a very bad job of making it. Yes, this was made by me, that's why I used 14 colors. So sometime I might make another one that'll actually turn well. This next puzzle is really weird. This is the very puzzle lovebird. I can't say that with a straight face. Because they could have just made a 2x2 Topminx, but no, they were weird. They had to put birds on it and give it a wacky name. But all these puzzles pale in comparison to the 3x3 version. This is the Topminx. I've actually stickered this puzzle twice. It's got 392 stickers, it's got 32 sides, a face-turning truncated icosahedron, and it's the second largest puzzle in my collection. Alright, let's do my favorite platonic solid, Icosahedra. This is a Dodec. It's basically a Pyraminx with baby faces, and you get to mess around with the color scheme. Here's an Icosahedra, which unfortunately was made from the same crappy MF8 Void Pentultimate from earlier, so turning is very, very horrible. Just goes to show how bad that Pentultimate mechanism is. Most of these are stickered with my old color scheme. This is the new standard one right here if you ignore the light purple. This is basically the 3x3 version of an Icosahedra. This is an Astrominx. It's an icosahedral shape mod of a Starminx. This actually turns much better because they gave it a real mechanism. Here's a Radiolarian 2. This icosahedron basically just turns on the faces like normally, except it can't turn normally because you can't turn the puzzle counterclockwise. You can turn any face clockwise as many times as you want, but you can't turn a single face counterclockwise. It's so freaking annoying. Solving it took 18 hours, and I'm never scrambling it again. This makes the Void Pentultimate look like a Speedcube. However, there is a puzzle like this, but it removes every annoying aspect of it. This is the Icosahedra, and it turns on the... I grabbed the wrong one. This is an Icosahedra. It's identical to my Astrominx, and it actually turns on the faces like this with a bit of an overhang. As you can see, very easily it turns counterclockwise, very easily turns clockwise. It's a fully functional puzzle, which shouldn't be such a rarity, and it doesn't have these tiny, annoying little edge pieces that the Radiolarian 2 has that cost me 12 hours of my life that I'll never get back. And finally, this is Aton Star. It's a slightly deeper cut, face-turning icosahedron. Actually, it turns very smoothly. It's the most smooth turning of all of my face-turning icosahedra. It's also one of the most difficult puzzles in my collection. I'd like to see people start solving this in those platonic solid relays, because if you're losing the icosahedron, it's not a platonic solid relay anymore. Hate to break it to you. And now, the moment that some of you are probably waiting for. My Speedcubes. I've got quite a few here. Let's start off with my main. This is a Diane Guhong Pro M 56mm standard. I also got a smaller version of it for one-handed. This is just the same exact cube, but 54mm. Before my main was a Guhong, it was this, which is a GAN cube. It's I think a 12M Pro. I might be wrong. I actually have no idea. And before that, it was this. This is some sort of RS something. It's a MoU cube. It was my first magnetic Speedcube, and I got bored one day and gave it a different color scheme, so now checkerboard looks like this on it. But yeah, this was my first real, magnetic Speedcube, and not just a cheap Cyclone Boys 3x3. I also have this lying around. This, I think, is an RS3M V5. This is my only Speed 2x2 that I still have. It is a GAN 251M Air, I think. It does the job, it's not the perfect 2x2, but you don't need a particularly good 2x2 to be fast. This is my 4x4 main. It's a MoU Asu Worm. I set it up with, I want to say, FZ Rush at some point, and I also put Silk in it and TNM 37. And it turns pretty great. This is an MGC 555. I haven't been fast enough yet to compete with it, but if I do compete, I'm going to be using the GAN 5x5, which came out after I bought this. And this is an MGC 6x6. It was over-lubed from the last person who had it, but I traded for it, so that's why it's poorly set up. I competed with it one time. It's probably going to be the last. Here's my Pyraminx. It is a GAN Pyraminx. For the longest time, I had an X-Man Bell V1, but then someone traded it for this GAN Pyraminx. I actually don't know why, because this is way better, in my opinion. My only Speed Megaminx, in fact the only Megaminx in my collection until my next stickered one arrives. It is an X-Man Galaxy V1, set up with absolutely nothing. I don't actually speed solve Mega yet, but when I do, I'm probably just gonna get a Diane. My Skewb main is this GAN Skewb right here. It's wonderful. This is the only reason why I was able to register for Worlds, if I'm being honest. And this is my FTO, which I'm hoping becomes the next WCA event. There's a airbrushed pink side so that I can have my beloved MF8 color scheme. So I don't know if it's comp legal, probably not, but I hope it will be. I set it up with FC Rush. If you're gonna get an FTO, get a Diane FTO. It's the best one out there. This is my Speed Master Pyraminx. It's just a Chi Master Pyraminx, but it's the fastest one on the market because no one's made one with magnets yet. And if you're going to buy a Master Pyraminx, Chi is the way to go. Here's the Diane Sheng Killaminx. It's great, honestly. The only two complaints I have are that it's tiny and that for some reason, of course, they've got these little things in there, which actually, if you're doing algorithms that do this, can actually clip past each other, which is really bad. And of course, I also caved and asked for a Megaminxes. So I have the Speed Megaminxes from Diane Sheng as well. Very prone to pops, but otherwise good, and I probably will be buying their Master Killaminx at some point as well. As for a ready, I do have the Magnetic Yushin 8 Petals Cube, which quality control is not great, but this one's in particular is alright. This is the GAN Mirror Cube. I love it. It's purple. You probably can't see because it was, in my defense, it was bright when I started recording, but I've been at this for hours. It's purple, it's sparkly, it's shiny, but I don't speed solve it very often because I'm not a huge fan of speed solving shape mods of WCA puzzles. I do have it though. It's probably the nicest looking puzzle in my collection. I've also got this, which is a stickerless Chi 2x2x3. It's not a speed cube. It's not even that much better than the other 2x2x3 I have. I just bought it because I thought it would be better if it was stickerless if I was going to start speed solving 2x2x3 for fun, which I did very briefly. And this massive thing right here is the fastest Skewb diamond in the world. It was designed by Manticuber. It was extended from an old RS Skewb I had. And it was made obsolete because now they're making fast Skewb diamonds. So this probably isn't the fastest in the world anymore, but it was at one point. Come on, I'm a has-been. I used to have a cheap Chi Speed Square one, but I traded it for another puzzle, but now I've got an actual Speed Square one on the way, so we're good to go. We're in the home stretch. The only puzzles we have to talk about now are not twisty in the slightest. Starting with this. The clock. It's a Chi clock. It's not twisty, and I won't hear a word against it. I also had a Shengshao clock at one point, but that broke before I had finished scrambling it for the first time, so now I have this. This is the Rubik's Triamid, which I only semi-recently found out how to properly scramble. You can just take these bits off and put them back any way you want. Kind of like a Hyper Pyraminx. This is the Rubik's 360. It's a total kick in the pants to solve. I don't like it, but I have it. And here's the Rainbow Ball, which is really easy to solve. I used to have a 6-color version. Now I've got this 12-color one instead, made by Shengshao. I've got this, which is the Rubik's Slide. It's pretty fun to solve. And this, Rubik's Snake or Rubik's Twist or whatever they're calling it these days. I've got it in this goofy pattern right here. Got a couple cylinder puzzles. This one came from McDonald's, and this one, I don't know where it came from. And lastly, I've got this Gordian's Knot puzzle here. I believe it's also being sold as the Rubik's Unlock. I've also got this cube right here, which unfolds like a sort of snake type thingy, and you have to get it back into its cube shape. And these guys aren't really puzzles. This is that star cube thing where you can combine them sort of, and they'll turn into one cube, one that's gold and one that's silver. It looks like magic. I just wanted to include these. This reminds me of when I had 2 star cubes that did look like Rubik's Cubes, but I ended up selling them. Sorry about the bad lighting, but it's getting dark out. I've been recording for a while, but the last thing we have to go over in this video is my 1x1s. So here's a 1x1 cube, 1x1 Pyraminx, 1x1 Megaminx. Those are all the mass-produced 1x1s. I have many more. There's this, which is a GAN 180M. It is actually the prototype for the first magnetic speed 1x1. You should check out the video for that on my channel. To complete all the platonic solid 1x1s, I've also got this 1x1 Octahedron right here, and a 1x1 Icosahedron using the correct color scheme this time. I've also got a couple of mini 1x1s, which are this tiny 1x1 Megaminx and tiny 1x1 Icosahedron. These came with a Facebook Marketplace purchase. I've got this 1x1 mirror cube that I made when I got bored. Here's a 1x1 pentahedron because I got bored again. Here's a 1x1 pentahedron because I got bored again. And here is a 1x1 rhombic triicosahedron that I made alongside the Megaminx for some reason. Completely skipped over a 1x1 rhombic dodecahedron, at least for now. But there is my collection of 1x1s, and that also completes my full collection. And that's it for the video. Oh my god. I've been recording for over 3.5 hours. But yeah, I somehow did this all in one video. In future videos, I'm only going to show puzzles that were added to the collection that year so as not to waste everybody's time. If you have any questions about any of the puzzles, just let me know in the comments, and make sure to drop any requests for YouTube Shorts, as I tend to upload YouTube Shorts on puzzles that I just think are cool and I don't have enough material to cover a whole video on. Thank you for watching. If you watched through the whole video, you're insane, and this is Lord of the Cubes signing off. Look, they've got like beaks. You can stab your fingers on it. I'm suing them. This is dangerous. This is a dangerous puzzle that should not be given to children.